To everyone joining us, good afternoon to our locals and good evening or good morning to our international audience. I hope you're all ready for our first webinar Wednesday of 2024. So welcome to V5 Africa, Human-Centered Marketing in the Era of AI. We're going to start off with a brief video, so it gives us a little bit of time so the other attendees can join us. And then this particular advert is from the Super Bowl. It recently launched and it's about AI, so please enjoy.
Artificial intelligence is changing the way we see the world, showing us what we never thought possible, transforming the way we do business, and bringing family and friends closer together. With artificial intelligence, the future is in good hands.
Despicable Me 4. Trailer out now.
We also have another video that Debbie provided. So Jürgen, if you'd like to put that in the chat, people can watch that a little bit later. So hi again to those who have just joined us. My name is Frida Smith and I'm a customer success strategist at V5 Digital from Somerset West, and I'll be your host today. So if Debbie and Armin, would you kindly introduce yourselves?
Okay, thanks, Frida. My name is Debbie Rowles, and I'm from Think Human Being.
Hi, guys. My name is Armin Wieland. I'm from V5 Digital, and extremely pleased to have Debbie here with me in studio today. So Debbie, just from the whole V5 Digital or V5 Africa team, a very warm welcome. It's great to have you here today.
Oh, thanks, Armin. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, guys. So let's quickly run through the agenda. Intro done, welcome done. And next, Debbie and Armin will talk to us about human-centered marketing in the era of AI. Then we're going to have some questions. And after that, Armin will tell us a little bit about what's next for V5 Africa. I will try and keep proceedings under 55 minutes. I promise I'll try. So if you've never heard of V5 Digital, allow me a few seconds to explain what we do. We are digital innovators and we solve business challenges by providing digital marketing strategy and tech solutions to help our customers and clients reach and excite their customers and consumers. We are very passionate about these services. Now, I'm not going to run through everything, but if there's something on the screen that interests you, please reach out during this session or after this session. We'll definitely help you out. And then I'd like to introduce our technology partners without whom this webinar cannot take place. In no particular order, we've got Rocketseed, the trusted email signature platform, Salesforce, the world's #1 CRM, and Constant Contact, the all-in-one digital platform. Before we start properly, the questions. Please use the Q&A feature. You can ask the questions in chat. It's not the end of the world, but it works so much better. And Jürgen will be so glad if you use the Q&A feature. And also be aware that during this webinar, there's going to be little pop-ups of cool poll questions. So answer those. Now we're doing something new this time. We are actually giving away a very cool AI V5 Digital t-shirt. So what you have to do to get this t-shirt is during the webinar, make sure to create a post and tag at V5 Digital. We'll give away 2 shirts, one to a lucky lady and one to a lucky guy. And you can post on all 4 major platforms: Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and X. Almost forgot X there for a second. So that's a lot of me talking. Let's get to the actual guests. Time for a few icebreakers. You guys ready?
Yes, we are.
Okay, awesome. So first one, adventure holiday or yoga retreat?
Yoga retreat.
It's adventure holiday for me.
I'll agree with Armin on this one. So running or rally driving?
Rally driving.
And I definitely have to say running.
Okay, awesome. Brand name or discount?
I would say brand name. We are marketers after all.
This is going to be a shameful answer for me then, because I am absolutely a brand person, but at the moment I'm torn between name brand and discount. I think it's got to do with the state of the world and what's happening in terms of the economy.
That's a good answer, and it's very true. All right, work hard or play hard?
Okay, I've got to say, let's work hard. I love it.
Me too. Work hard, but work hard to play hard.
No, that's a good answer. Yeah, no, that's very true. All right, being accurate or being fast?
Ooh, okay, I'd probably say being accurate.
Those that know me, I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so definitely being accurate.
The one thing we can
Armin, I think that you would say being fast and being accurate, if I'm honest.
Thanks, Frida. You didn't have to say that.
Okay. Digital or analog watch? What are you guys wearing?
Both. Elaborate. I love my analog watch, but whenever I put it on, I just, it can only show me the time really and the date. So that's why I'm actually hardly wearing it anymore and actually put it on specifically for today. But normally the digital watch.
Yeah, I don't have a watch at the moment. Also a bit conflicts about time as a concept. But I would have to say a bit of both. To look at the concepts of analog.
Okay. Next.
Frida, sorry, I'm going to kill my WhatsApp here. I thought it's killed, but it's still cranking for whatever reason. So.
Okay. No problem.
Really annoying. Apologies for that. Should be off.
Okay, perfect. So then let's do the last one. 7-day or 4-day work week? This one's controversial now.
I'd definitely say 4-day.
Bit of a workaholic, so 7-day work week for me, but I really do see the benefit and the merit in a 4-day work week, and I absolutely love the concept, and it's great that it's coming to Namibia, and we at V5 Digital wouldn't actually mind to be part of the 4-day work week experiment.
Yeah. All right. Next up, Debbie, would you kindly tell us about the work that you do?
Thanks, Frida. First, for me, that's the hardest question of all. I'm trying to work on an answer that I can memorize, like an elevator pitch. But actually, I believe in a better world. So I kind of, at the moment, work with the magic that exists at the intersection of businesses of for good and human potential. So I'm a lover of brands. That's my background. And I think for me, that comes from owning a space in someone's mind, like the power of brands and belief systems. So here I am. I think every human being needs to be in the best space possible. The world needs everyone in the best space at the moment. And here I am to chat about AI and to shift our perspective a little bit about what's happening in the world.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks so much, Debbie. Okay, next up, I have a video clip here of Armin looking quite a bit younger. I'm going to play it, and then Armin, will you give us a little bit of context after that?
Sure. Frida, before you play, maybe I can give some context already, then it might be a bit more clear for everyone. If you can just go one slide back. So this was, as you said, a few years ago, about five and a half years ago at Dreamforce in San Francisco. So that's the big conference, big user conference for Salesforce. And they do talk about Einstein in the video. That's why I thought I'd just clarify that. So Einstein is the AI, or the artificial layer within the Salesforce ecosystem. And take a look at the clip, and then I'm going to say one or two words about it.
Okay.
Think about your chat with Einstein just now.
Hey Dana and everybody at Dreamforce. This is Armin here from V5 Digital Namibia. So we just had a very interesting chat to the Einstein Smart Speaker, and it was all about helping with productivity. And I think at this point in time it was still quite basic in terms of the responses. And I think we spoke to your colleague, I think Nadia, just now. And I think we gave some great input in terms of how Einstein could help us going forward. For instance, one suggestion was, and I believe many people have done that suggestion, I guess you guys at Salesforce are working at it already. And for instance, looking at my calendar, or looking at my email box and actually saying, well, hey Armin, which of these items are important, which of these emails need answering immediately, which of these emails or tasks Einstein can actually do for me. And another one would be, for instance, on a proposal side, because we are a digital marketing agency doing a lot of proposals. So wouldn't it be great if Einstein could actually do those proposals for us? So, just giving you some basic data and then, putting those proposals together and off they go to a client. So I think that would be amazing if Einstein could do that. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Frida. And yeah, so just a bit of context. And I think we just wanted to show here how fast the world is really moving, with AI. And because kind of what I had on my wish list is now actually, part of the Salesforce ecosystem already. So for instance, you could, within Salesforce, you could say, hey Einstein, send me an email to my top leads, or to my warm leads, and with that message, and the system will actually do it for you, perfectly crafted, and it would look more amazing than if I would have done it manually, with less errors and probably a much warmer message. So just showing you what is possible. So that was kind of my wish list 5 years ago. It's reality already, and just imagine how fast the world is going to move now. With AI enabled all around us. And yeah, so that's kind of just what we're going to talk about today. But I don't want to steal Debbie's show at all. So over to you, Debbie, and to Frida to kind of take it from here. I will say a few words here and there.
Okay, so I think this is the perfect chance for our first poll question. Jürgen, will you please put up when and where was the first time you interacted with AI? Okay, everybody, please answer. On my iPhone, on my Android phone, Gmail, or other.
I see, Debbie, we're not allowed to vote. It's disabled, but
I absolutely can't vote from over here.
I would vote on your behalf, or maybe using ChatGPT. I don't know. Please do vote. It's important. I hope the volume is a bit better while we're waiting. I see Christine, you mentioned the volume is an issue, so we're trying to talk a bit louder, clearer from our side. Jürgen, would you like to share the results for us?
Oh, okay.
Right. Frida, will you take us through the results real quick?
Yeah, it seems that the most is on my iPhone. Second, we've got other, and then we've got on my iPhone and on my Android phone and Gmail. Okay, great. What did you use AI for the first time on which device?
I would have to say probably on my iPhone.
Yes, me too. I think, and I actually can't say when it was exactly. It was one of the earlier versions of the iPhone, and definitely picked it up when it started with the whole predictive text. And I really think that function is really great. And obviously, it's definitely AI because it kind of learns what you kind of saying in terms of what words are you using or what names are you using. So with time, it kind of gets smarter about it, and it actually predicts the correct name. And sometimes it still gets it wrong, but I think overall it's doing a great job.
Yeah, all right. So let's get properly started. Now, Debbie, I love this quote. Can you tell me why you chose to start us off with it?
Oh, thanks, Frida. I really want you to interrupt me if the sound is not good. I believe my sound's been a bit low. So thank you for having me today, everybody. It's an amazing setup here in studio. So if I don't look like I'm looking at you, so I'm trying to figure out where to look in terms of the screen. Frida, if anybody's been to any of my presentations, so interesting. If I'm doing a facilitation or a workshop or a trend talk, I start with that quote. And it basically says, we don't see things as they are, we see them as we are. Okay. And it gives me goosebumps every time, because as we land here today in this space with Amin and yourselves and talking about AI, we come in here with everything we've ever learned before about marketing, about ourselves as consumers, about ourselves as managing brands, and actually a lot more than that, the story of our whole life lands up in the room with us today. So as we go through what we're going to chat about today, it's just really interesting to get curious about the information and to look at it with a fresh eye, because as Amin and I sit here, we are just human beings, and the rate of change at the moment is so quick that nobody really knows what's happening with AI in the world, but we're going to figure it out together as we go along.
Absolutely. Maybe just to add to that, so I think it's very important what you said. We're definitely not specialists. I think Debbie is much more specialist than I on AI, but I had to actually read up quite a bit, listen to a few links and podcasts to kind of, have at least a bit of knowledge about AI to don't, sound and look like a complete fool today. But yeah, we're definitely not specialists on AI. I believe in the audience, we have, people, very smart people that are much more clued up. So, but I think the important thing about today is really, if you can just, take away one thing, that is kind of new to you, then we are happy at V5 Digital and V5 Africa. So if you think you know everything about AI, I still think there's definitely one thing you will learn from us today. So yeah, looking forward to the conversation.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, guys. That's great. Now, I think it's best if we start with a little bit of a definition so that everybody's on the same page. So I'm going to ask each of you, please tell me your definition of AI. We'll start with Debbie.
Oh my goodness. So I'm actually going to, the definition that I put on the screen is actually what I was sourced. It's really interesting. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit here, because in the order of kind of the slides and what we're talking about, it's fascinating, the power of words. Okay. Words actually create worlds. We are in the business of telling stories. And if you have a look at the words that have guided us over the past few years, in 2021, the Collins Dictionary Word of the Year, or actually 2022, was permacrisis. Okay. And that talks a lot to what is happening in the world at the moment, that it's one crisis of the next. And if you look at last year, AI was actually the word of the year. So even though it's not a word, it's two words, but that also says something about the state of the world and what we're living in at the moment. So artificial intelligence, and it's basically, for me, if you look at it, and you can correct me here, but it's computer program software that is learning to be human, okay, to think like a human being. And we can talk about all the different terminology, and don't be put off by terminology, algorithms, whatever you want to talk about around AI, but it's literally computers learning to think and behave like human beings and respond like human beings, and it's learning from us. And also learning to be emotionally intelligent. That's quite an interesting debate at the moment. Can they be emotional? Okay. Can they have consciousness? But we won't talk about that today. So, I mean, your definition.
Awesome. I think that was great. Thank you, Debbie. I'm not going to repeat the definitions. I think we kind of all know what it is. There's textbook definitions. So I think more from a practical point of view, in my case, so AI is really all around us. So in the morning, and there might be a question just now as well, but in the morning I would switch on my Amazon radio, and that's driven by AI. I'm giving a command, and Alexa responds and says, of course we can do that. And I would say that response is actually very human. It's very friendly. It's very warm. So yeah, I would say that that's actually a perfect voice which greets me in the morning. And then it's kind of the days goes on, and then I think we don't realize how much AI is in our day-to-day lives. On the slides earlier, you mentioned predictive analytics. Within digital marketing, that's a big thing and a big tool, and we're already using it in branch which we serve or work together with, are already using predictive analytics. That's the one bit. Earlier on, we talked about just now rather about CRM and Salesforce and Einstein, and that's already reality. So the CRM is already smart. It's already using AI to learn. For instance, maybe just to give you a practical example again on email marketing, one could, if one has it correctly set up and learning on your data as a company. Let's say you're a big bank, then you can actually use it in such a way that the email is sent out at a time when, well, kind of the email is kind of scheduled, but let's say you're sending out to 100,000 consumers within Namibia. that it actually starts learning and say, okay, when is Armin, when is Frida, when is Debbie, when is Björn, when are they actually reading their emails from the bank, or most likely to actually open that email. And then what the system will actually do over time, learn that behavior at scale. I think that's the beauty really of AI. It's really at scale. And it could be 10 users, it could be 100 users, it could be a million users. But really learns at scale and then say, okay, Armin is more likely to actually open the email from the bank at a certain time. So actually, let me actually deliver it at that point in time. And obviously, if I'm not reading it anymore, then the system will also unlearn itself. I think that's really the beauty of it. But yeah, we're going to dive into that just now a bit deeper if needed.
That's perfect. Thanks, guys. So while you've answered that so greatly, I'm going to ask Jürgen again. I think now, since Armin mentioned voice assistants there a little bit, let's ask, which voice assistant, if any, do you use? So for me, I don't actually ever use a voice assistant, but my husband likes Apple Siri. So I hear, "Hey Siri," every 5 minutes.
Yeah, we didn't ask the question if you like the voice assistants or not. So I think that's a complete different story, or how well they understand you. You're more than welcome to type it into the chat in terms of your experience. Is it a great experience? Is it a terrible experience? Have you stopped maybe using Siri or another voice assistant because it's just completely useless? Or do you think maybe actually becomes much better over time? So maybe if you haven't used it 5 years ago, but now you can use it on a daily basis. So if you want to put those comments in the chat, you're more than welcome.
Oh, we got an interesting comment there saying that ChatGPT does Afrikaans the best. That's interesting.
Thank you for that one, Mr. Andre.
Yeah. All right, guys. So the results are in. It's very close, actually, but it seems that Apple Siri gets a lot of play, and Google Assist, and none gets quite a lot. And then Alexa. It seems like Alexa's. Oh, no one's using Cortana.
I think that's really interesting. I think that's kind of what I was expecting, because I would say the majority is probably on an Android device. I personally use both Alexa, that's a smart speaker I'm using, and then Siri. But I must say, just my personal opinion, I like Alexa a bit more. I think it's smarter than Siri.
Yeah, I don't use any of the voice assistants. Turn them off.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, guys. So now I think let's get into the main course here a little bit. And I'm going to ask Debbie, so what's happening to us human beings?
So this is fascinating. Now we get to stuff that I really like. I don't have the slides in front of me, so I'm looking at you, or actually at myself at the moment. But I'll share here with Amin. So just briefly, it's really important for me when we talk about anything that we zoom out and have a look at what's happening in the world. And what's happening in the world at the moment, it's probably not going to be a surprise for any of you, is that we see a lot of polarization. Okay, so people sitting on different sides of a topic with very different ideas about whether something is good or bad, okay, and what they believe in and don't believe in. So it's really interesting because this is filtering across now into business and how it affects us. And so a lot of polarization coming out around innovation. Okay, and how do people feel about things like AI, things like new technologies that are being put onto our phones, tracking, and quite severe reactions to that, and really polarized opinions. What you also see, which I think is really important for us, is that no surprises there, but there is a big distrust in the world. It's quite a sad state of affairs, is that people are most likely to distrust you until you prove that you can be trusted, as opposed to back in the good old days when we kind of trusted people until we had a reason not to trust them. So that's a big impact in terms of communication and what we put out there. And the other thing is fighting for the truth. It's really difficult for people to discern what the truth is these days. And as we know, in the social media and in the digital spaces, people are very unlikely to move past the headline, okay, to kind of ascertain what they will rather just share the information. Lastly, which I think is really important, is that And we're kind of discussing this information here because we sometimes forget that we are human beings. Okay, so we are our customers and we are our clients, and we are literally human beings, and we kind of all wired the same. So the last picture, which I think is beautiful, I just want to point out that I did experiment with AI to kind of generate all the images for the presentation today. And I'm going to point out some of the flaws as we go through, but I thought this was quite a beautiful one, is that many people are carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders at the moment. There is a lot of anxiety around many issues. We talk about eco-anxiety coming out of the climate space, which is a very polarized section by itself. People worried about the economy, the crisis in meaning, how do we feel about things at the moment? Cost of living, crisis in education. Am I going to lose my job? What does the future look like? And a lot of fear and concerns coming in there around AI. So quite an interesting space to be. So let's carry on there, Frida. I hope that answered your question.
That really does.
Yes, then maybe just to add to what Debbie has been saying. So, and she's been touching on the polarization. I think that's coming through more and more, and we're going to talk about it just now as well. But you probably heard about the bias within the AI models, and Debbie will elaborate on that just now. But you probably have picked it up yourself, on your social media feed, or when you're watching YouTube, you're kind of getting more of the same. That's kind of the one bit, and in a way that's kind of done on purpose, so that you kind of that you see the stuff you like, and you kind of get drawn to, because then that creates clicks, and that creates attention, and that creates stickiness, for instance, within the Facebook app. And that's certainly done with with a lot of purpose from the big players. And another bit I wanted to just what Debbie's been saying, for instance, like the whole the climate change and that kind of thing. And yeah, that's also coming through a lot, as we see a lot on my feed, where people are just sharing, they are kind of all the solar panels are bad because they take so much to actually make them, etc. And I think if you're a consumer, just kind of don't accept things at face value. So even if your friends are sharing things, and that's kind of the trust which Debbie was alluding to earlier. I think just to scrutinize it, and I think also if your friends are sharing things where you believe, I think just question it, and at least point them in the right direction if you can. And not everybody always has the time to kind of go through, okay, what is the real fact about an electric car, or about a solar panel, or about X, Y, and Z, about global warming? Does it really exist? But I think we as leaders definitely have a responsibility to point out to our friends and relatives and family to if something's not right, to make sure that there's actually a fake image they've been using, or something which the oil lobby has been using for the last 10 years, and maybe just correct them.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thanks, Alan. Yeah.
Okay, guys, I'm going to move on and ask you one more question. So, Debbie, why does human-centric marketing matter? And then afterwards, Armin, why do we need AI in our marketing strategy?
Oh, I love this, human-centered marketing. So we can make up a definition for ourselves here. But if human-centered marketing is really about going back to basics and putting human beings at the center of our marketing strategies and our marketing plans. So what does it mean to be human? What is the human experience? What value are we actually adding to that human being? It's a lot got to do with, it's actually fabulous. If we go back, I'm not going to give away my age here, but a lot of you know me on the call. But if we go back 10 or 15 years, and we really talk about the brand essence wheel, and it's like, what is the heart of our brand? How do we want people to feel? What are the benefits? What are we actually providing for them? Emotional and rational things. So that's basically what it is putting human beings back at the center of where we take our decisions from.
Great. Thanks, Debbie. So to my question, do we need AI for our strategy? Where do we need it? I think the short answer is we probably don't need it, to come up with a great marketing strategy or a great digital marketing strategy. But it definitely helps in terms of, to maybe churn out something faster, or something which is just a bit more awesome than if you would have kind of done it all by yourself. So I think, their AI is really cool in terms of helping you to, just to help you, whatever, maybe ideas generating, or in terms of, your existing ideas, just to kind of, broaden them. And I believe that's where it's really, really powerful. And then, I was what I was talking about earlier. So, for instance, the examples of the email marketing and the CRM and all the different systems, and we might touch on them later on or not. But most of them, or a lot of them, already have AI built in, and I think that's also a great tool for us on the marketing side, just to, for instance, on emailer, you could already you don't have to actually use ChatGPT, but you could, for instance, in the emailer, put in a few keywords, and the mailer will already help you with actually crafting that email. So yeah, I think overall it's great tools that make your life easier, better content faster. I think that's kind of what it is. But also I think we need to be very cautious of that. We just don't accept it at face value, but really go through it and edit it, correct it. Earlier we were talking about, are we perfectionists or not? So I think maybe have a perfectionist in your team, take a look at those things that have been generated and really make sure that they're really human, and that they're really real, and that they really make sense.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think we also have to caution ourselves and watch out for shiny object syndrome. And as with anything new, and as human beings, we are likely to chase the shiny object. So it's really important, like Amin said, do we even need it? Probably, we'll get there just now, but yeah, just to question that.
That's a great point. All right, guys. I think I'm going to move on to what's happening to our marketers, Debbie.
Okay, back to me. I have some cheat sheet notes on the slide there. So what's happening to our marketers? Please, everybody on the call, we are human beings, okay? Sometimes we have a cast in a bad light. Anybody working with marketing, advertising somehow ends up in a negative space in terms of what's happening in the world and the media, whereas it has so much power to create good and to create change in the world. So we are human beings. When you come into the situation with AI, just know that you will be triggered by whatever those fears are. It is okay. It is the time to just experiment, okay, to play around, to test the things, to speak to human beings that you trust, that can help you and give you kind of guidance in this area. Yes, it's intimidating, and you're learning new things, and it's changing rapidly. I mean, there are hundreds of new tools every day. Everybody's jumping in, they're developing custom GPTs for their brands. So it's easy to feel like you're being left behind, but go in and experiment. Sorry, I've lost my cheat sheet there, Frida. If you
sorry.
Screen.
Immediately for you, Debbie.
Thanks so much. Okay, so as marketers, really some interesting things. As I said earlier, nobody knows. Nobody really knows yet what AI is going to do for us in terms of our own jobs and what it's going to do for us in terms of how we service our consumers. But there's some interesting studies coming out at the moment. Boston Consulting Group and Harvard have just released a study that shows that marketers their creativity increases by 40%, okay, through the use of GPTs, language models, generators to help us do our work. So interesting. Sometimes the business solutions is actually a negative. People get stuck using AI, and the results are not actually as effective or efficient as we want them to be. So we see a lot of things happening in those spaces. Yes, it's incredible. There's a flip side to every coin, and we talk about that polarization. So on the one side, unbelievable tools. You want to start talking about analytics and how AI can actually really free up time for us by analyzing data. The question is where the data comes from, because it's not a magical solution to everything. It's a tool. Creativity, awesome. So we're saying, great, you can generate a lot of creative ideas. But what we're also seeing is, and from the survey, is that those ideas are not very diverse. So yes, you get a lot of ideas, but they're not as diverse as could be with human input and human creativity. And yes, it is generating more time for yourself because it can make you more productive. But it's really interesting. It can also slow you down. I know if you look at the generated images that I created there, I'm going to point out something that Armin said. I put in beautiful prompts for GPT and DALL-E to create these images for myself. I must point out that there is bias built into these systems because the systems have learned from everything that is online and more, and it is coming, we know that it is kind of Eurocentric, the information is coming out that is populated on the internet. So your first image will ordinarily always just not be right on target, and it's really prompt to create more diversity and to bring in different images and to try and make it more culturally relevant for us who are sitting in the global south. So just be cautious on that. So another interesting thing is, whilst everything can be amazing, and we talk about doing data analytics. So if you put in all of your consumer data and you want your AI to give you advice in terms of who are these groups, kind of what are we seeing the trends coming through, just remember that it can also develop siloed thinking. Is that you're only inputting the data for the people that you're currently working with. So it's excluding other data fields or other possibilities. And as we know, the world is shifting so quickly, is that you cannot stay in one space. You're going to probably have to move into spaces with your products and services. So there's a little bit of a caution there. Again, generative AI, everybody on the call, I'm sure has used it before. Beautiful. It can spit out social media posts at the rate of knots. You can do a whole content calendar for the year. Fabulous. Be careful. Other people are using it. Okay, so we're in a space where everything can start to sound and look the same. And I don't know if you've seen it, yourself. I know Frida was giggling because as a writer, you can start to see when someone has written an email in GPT. It kind of has a very interesting professional sounding tone, and you can pick it up. So please, the human being, you're a human being. There's a reason we have unbelievable creativity. You have nuances that you need to apply to work with the AI to generate content that is on brand and has the right messaging going out. And then just the last thing from the marketing space, and is this thing about connection versus disconnection. I mean, AI, incredible, beautiful. It's giving us this opportunity to really engage with our consumers. Amin spoke a little bit about hyper-personalization, understanding exactly who you are, what you love, what you don't love, exactly the kind of words that you like to use or read, and where you stick on a page and when you move on in the content. But just remember, the more the layers of technology that we build between us and our consumers, you are in one way connecting, hyper connection to them, but you may also be disconnecting from your audiences, okay, from the real human beings, the people that you're serving in those spaces. Sorry, I'm babbling on. You give me an opportunity.
Awesome. That was really awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Debbie.
Oh, and so true. I find that AI seems to be getting a little bit lazy these days, for sure. It's all sounding the same. And my personal pet peeve is the dive into. I see dive into and transformative everywhere because of it. Okay. Next. I think it's a great time to ask a question. So, which AI tools do you use?
Even if you can launch the poll, please.
Yeah, sorry, Jürgen. I meant to preface that with.
Goodness sweet, I was about to rant into all of the ones that I use now.
No, this is for everyone. Unfortunately, we can't vote, but which of these AI tools do you use? Do you use ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, or other? I personally have used ChatGPT. Obviously, it's very efficient, but it has its flaws. And also I use Gemini, and I've heard from coding friends that Gemini works better for them for coding.
Awesome. I see in the question there isn't none or never used it before, so we failed to put it in.
Oh.
So
bad.
if you feel strongly about it, please do put it in the chat in terms of if you've never used any of the tools before. And please put it in the chat, and also maybe also let us know why. Are you just don't like it, or yeah, that'd be great.
Good point, Armin. So it seems that ChatGPT is by far the one that gets used the most. It is the one that's more in the public eye. And just for those that don't know, Gemini is the new rebranded name for Bard. Okay, So yeah.
So Bart is the Google tool. Actually, interesting that no one voted for Bart or Gemini, but yeah.
Okay, well, now we know it's ChatGPT all the way. All right, next up, I would like to know from Debbie, what's happening to our consumers?
Okay, it's exciting spaces. So I told you a little bit about what's happening to human beings in general around the world. And as I said, marketers are human beings, consumers are human beings. People in general are feeling overwhelmed. Okay, so then you have to remember that. And it goes across all different spaces. It goes across different generations. I mean, we all talk about Gen X, Gen Alpha, Gen Z, and all the differences. But people are really feeling overwhelmed, particularly actually Gen Z. And I think Gen Alpha might be the same, although we might see some reverses coming through there because they are the younger generation. There is a massive race on behalf of all of the advertisers and the brand owners and the businesses in the world to capture this, we call it the race to intimacy. So we actually just come out of this attention economy and this race to capture your attention. And we haven't even dealt with the after effects of that. I mean, you're seeing, if you're exposed and watching the news, you're seeing all the lawsuits that are going on around the world against the big social media platforms for some of the things that have happened with teenagers, you know, and the negative effects of social media. So that's currently happening. So we're kind of grappling with that at the moment. And the AI world has shifted into the race to intimacy. So who can own that personal connection with consumers? Okay. So when you talk about being overwhelmed, I mean, there's quite a hectic picture on the right there on the screen. And we can't sometimes forget that as a brand owner, we feel like it's our only brand in the world. That consumer, that person, that human being is standing in the middle of thousands of people fighting for their attention on all different platforms. And it's really important to remember that. And as Amin said earlier, one of the biggest things, the AIs that we all live with every day is the algorithm, okay, on our social feeds, on the content that is coming to us. And that is actually really interesting because we on the business side of things just see it as whatever, a sponsored ad, a boost, what are we going to put into those spaces? We sometimes forget that those are personal spaces. The way people feel about their phone is a very personal thing. Okay, they have Face ID on it. They don't just want everybody looking into their phone. So we have to be very cognizant of when we put ads out into the world and we sponsor them, we need to kind of understand if those people want to see our ads or not and what the content is and how it's going to land in those personal spaces. But definitely, as I mentioned earlier, also the echo chambers. Okay? When we talk about the polarization in the world and confirmation bias, people are just seeing the things that they're engaging with, and it's getting more and more, and it's creating a bigger and bigger divide in spaces. So we have a big role to play there as business. Business is once again the most trusted institution in the world, according to the Edelman Trust Barometer, and coming out there above NGOs, above media, and above government. So we have a responsibility in terms of how we handle this relationship and also how we launch innovation into these spaces. So fragmentation, that's the obvious one. So many platforms, so many messages. What is the right one?
Question. How do we grow through this?
It's always one of my dangers is that I can operate somewhere up in the cloud, in the beautiful space of being human. And what does that mean as a human being going forward? But it is important that, and I know that you're on the call and you want to know what are the practical things, like how should we handle this with all of those things that are the concerns and the beauty, because there is incredible beauty and efficiency coming through in terms of the things that we can do with AI and what it's enabling. So I think number one, my first thing is lean into the technology. Okay, don't be scared of it, but use it to enhance, not replace what you're doing. Okay, it's really, really important. It's a beautiful thing. If you have everybody says there's nothing worse than a blank page. Okay, it's really difficult. Someone says, go, here's a canvas, do whatever you want. So it's great. You use AI to give you a framework, to give you some content, to give you some ideas and suggestions, but then take that human creativity and apply it in those spaces. My second thing is back to basics. Everybody, it is incredible. It's actually, I must just point this out, the human psyche around AI. If last year you were doing a brief, okay, and you needed a template for a new project or a brief form, you would go onto Google and you go, I would like a nice template, please. Can you give me the best template that you have for this project? Then you would get probably 1,000 pages. You would start on page 1 and you'd have to go page 1, page 2, page 3 and scroll through all the things and use your judgment and see, oh, actually, I'll use the Harvard Business Review template because that's probably quite good. It would take you hours to get something. Now, people go into ChatGPT and they go, I would like a template for a contract, okay? And nobody questions where that information is sourced from. It is just like, oh, wow, this is amazing. I believe it. I'm going to use this, okay? ChatGPT, the GPTs make mistakes. I'm telling you, I've seen information that they will quote verbatim and say, this is what it is. This is how many million people live here. It's often incorrect. So you need to challenge. Remember, we are inputting data into ChatGPT. Okay, back to basics. So my question is back to the brief form. Everybody has thrown out the brief form. When you're working with AI, when you're working with generative anything, content, images, go back to the brief form process. You need to take time and slow down and actually understand, what are you trying to achieve? The 5 W's, whichever beautiful brief form you have now, go back to that and understand what is the space that you're operating from. Okay. Warm data, and I love the space, and warm data is a term that is used by Nora Bateson, and I'm doing it a disservice because I won't be able to explain exactly what she means by warm data and the interrelationship in terms of all ecosystems. But warm data, and the way I'm going to use it now is we are what's happening with AI, what happens in the digital spaces is absolutely about numbers and clicks, and it's very quantitative, okay? And it's really easy to do quantitative surveys. It's probably the easiest in the digital space. Send it out. The polls that we've just done, oh, beautiful, okay, 50%, excellent, move on with our lives. I don't know when last anybody on this group, I'll be very happy if you have been doing it, but have done focus groups, good old qualitative data, the real human, how do human beings feel about my brand? Okay, what are the nuances? What are the things that are not being said? The language, the words that people are using about our brands. So we need to go back to those spaces. You have to develop a culture of empathy in your marketing departments. Like, it's easy to say human-centered marketing, but do we have empathy for those people? You know, what does it look like? What do their lives look like? And really developing that, not just in our marketing departments. I always say that the brand managers should be the business managers or business owners. But anyway, so throughout the organization, okay, that real culture of empathy. And as I flagged it earlier, please be cautious, everybody. And we're sitting here in the global south. There's a couple of things we have to remember is be aware of the digital divide. Okay, we cannot leave people behind. We've already left people behind, particularly in the last couple of years. And we talk about the spaces of education. Understand what that is. And AI can definitely help, even when you're working in spaces where there is a digital divide and gap, but be careful of that. Skills gap, and I'm not talking here about people who are totally uneducated about AI. I'm talking about the people in our offices. Guys, ChatGPT, Bard, whatever you want to call it, whatever platform we're talking about that is AI, driven by AI, it is not a tool that you can just give to everybody and take the output and run with it. Okay, please take time to train your staff. Everybody, guys, we think we're trained, we're not trained. Okay, doesn't matter how we're prompting that system. They need to understand what you put in and what you get out, and how to question it. Okay, how to make sure that that it's right. Does it even apply? We are getting stats and things. People are getting these beautiful global north kind of examples of business plans and things that we like. Does that work here? Okay, we have a different cultural feeling going on here, and how do we apply that in that situation? And my biggest thing, guys, bias, all sorts of bias for smaller groups built into GPT. Okay. Just remember that it is learning from the stuff that has all been put out in the world, and there's a lot of bias built into the system. Please be cautious of that, okay, and understand that when you prompt GPT to give you some sort of data. Sorry, that was a long rant, Frida. Get very excited about that.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Debbie. That was amazing. Armin, do you have anything you'd like to add, or shall I move on to our rapid fire question?
Yes, I think we need to wrap up, Frida. So I think just make it very, very brief. So the next slides essentially are just AI readings. So if you're interested in just kind of furthering your knowledge on AI, you're more than welcome to go through these books. They're books, but they're also on Blinkist if you prefer to use Blinkist. They're really, really great. And I think they a lot of the things that Debbie and I have been talking about is kind of covered here in terms of the bias and all that. There's one book here, the AI Superpowers. It's quite a cool one. It's the hard copy, so if anyone is in Winter and would like to kind of read it old school, reach out to me. So that one really talks about China's race, within AI and how China would most likely win the AI race, because it's kind of neck and neck with the US and China, and obviously Europe is far behind, and Africa probably even further behind. And the reason for that is that in China, they've got the advantage that they've got a huge population, number one. And secondly, there's hardly any restrictions in terms of, from a legal perspective of what people can do and not do. So they've got just so many data points, which is beautiful for AI, and maybe not so much for personal protection, that kind of thing. But you're more than welcome to borrow the book from me or just read it online.
Yeah, can I jump in there? So my book recommendation is slightly different. It's less on the practical side of things. And it's by a human being called Mo Gaudat. And he was the ex-CEO of Google X, X and X. And he actually runs a global happiness movement, which is quite interesting to look at. And he has a really interesting theory about AI. For me, it's really about, okay, what is the future of humanity and AI, and the really big picture when we start talking about metacrises and things. And you will all laugh at me, but I am very polite to ChatGPT. I say, good morning, how are you? Thank you so much. Could you please help me? Because what is happening in the world is that on all platforms, social media, GPT, chat, all the GPTs, we are the data. So what we are putting into the systems is what AI is learning from us, okay? And you will agree with me that we sometimes don't see the best of humanity online. We should probably sometimes see the worst of humanity online. So in the way you can, please, let's train the AI to know that as human beings are incredible and are really operating from a wonderful space. The book is called Scary Smart. He cautions that the first half of the book will make you very terrified, and the second half of the book will give you hope for the future.
Okay, that's awesome. I think, Jürgen, I sent you that link if you could put it in the chat. So if anybody wants to read Scary Smart, it sounds very interesting. I'll probably give it a read after this.
The link is in the chat, so thanks for that, Jürgen.
Thanks, Jürgen. All right. So you guys have been reading some interesting books about AI and human-centered marketing. That's very cool. Now, I think if we've got some time, we can do a little Q&A. Shall I go ahead?
Perfect, Frida.
Yes, please.
All right. So by using tools, this is from Jonathan. By using tools like ChatGPT, aren't we out of context? To make this point, these AI models were trained on data that is not 100% specific to one's physicality. Is AI not watering culture and societies down, creating a generalized society instead of a unique one?
Yeah, okay, I'll answer. I think I've kind of answered that question a little bit. I've touched on it. And I think, no, Jonathan, you're absolutely right. And it is up to us to populate the data. So if we're sitting here, we have a different culture. What we've input into the ChatGPT is really important. So it's important if I actually physically have an example of a friend who said, tell me more about Namibia, right in the early days. And they said Namibia is a landlocked country. And then the onus is on us to go, no, sorry, you're wrong. Okay, it's actually, this is where we're situated, and we have to train. So next time the algorithm's going to come back, oh, actually, Namibia is this beautiful space. It's quite interesting from a marketing perspective to understand what you input into that data. I've played around a little bit to look at, okay, can you recommend like 5 lodges in Namibia that are peaceful and, tranquil, and to see what comes out, because it's learning from what we are putting in as human beings. So absolutely right, Jonathan. And that's the caution. That's where the nuance is. Human beings, for a very long time, we are not going away. I mean, you looked at some of the images that I created there with the DALL-E things. they weren't perfect. I wouldn't be happy putting them up. I put them up today for slides, but many of them I wasn't happy for my brand and what I wanted to associate with. So it's really important. Cool.
Yeah, no, it's a great answer. I hope you're happy with that answer, Jonathan. And then I think we're getting a little close to time. Shall I read the statement following? I think it's less of a question and more of a statement regarding Jonathan's question.
Sure, Frida. I'm not sure where we are now in the program, but I think we need to wrap up.
Wrap up a little bit. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Armin, what's next for V5 Africa?
Okay, that's an easy question. Thank you for that one. So next one will be all about customer experience and customer experience mapping. So, and that one will most likely be with Chantel Buerta from Brand Life. And we don't have the dates yet, but it will be most likely mid-April or mid-May. So that's coming up for V5 Africa, mid-April, mid-May, customer experience and customer experience mapping. Obviously also utilizing AI, but we're looking forward to that one. As soon as the webinar's up, we will definitely invite you again via email and via our social channels.
Perfect. Thanks, Armin. Yeah, and then I think, is there any other questions or comments you guys have, or can I wrap this up for everyone? Okay, then.
There is a question on the Q&A feed. I'm not if you see it, an anonymous attendee.
Yeah, that's a statement they're not quite asking a question, but it's an interesting statement. I can read it. On one hand, it might risk diluting the richness of unique cultural identities when not carefully managed. On the other, AI can facilitate the sharing of knowledge and understanding across different cultures, potentially fostering greater global connectivity and empathy. The key lies in how these tools are used and developed, with an emphasis on inclusivity and the representation of diverse perspectives to mitigate the risk of creating a homogenized societal view.
Absolutely. And I think that is a beautiful way to end the conversation. And so I don't know from my side, but I just want to say thank you very much. It was really interesting. When Armin came and said, come and talk about AI, I was like, oh, I talk mostly about human beings, but let's chat a little bit about AI. And what that really challenged you, if you want to be ready for what's coming in the world, for what's happening in the AI. And it's going to sound really crazy, but to be a better marketer, I think you need to get to know yourself better. Okay. And the place that you operate from and the way that you view the world and what your perspective is on things. So thank you very much. Thanks, Frida, for being a great hostess.
Thanks very much, Debbie. It was so interesting having you. Sorry, Armin.
Thank you, Frida. Thank you, everyone. And thank you to our keynote speaker, Debbie, in the room. And apologies about the small technical glitch. But I believe we actually managed quite well. So thank you for everyone for attending. The webinar is recorded. It will be sent out by Friday. And if there are any questions, please do reach out to us directly. You've got the email address hi@v5.digital or to Debbie directly. Just Google Think Human Being. But yeah, it would be great to hear your feedback and looking forward to the next V5 Africa. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks so much. This was great. Cheers, everyone. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.